Notnerd Podcast, Episode 216, Doorstop Mode.
Welcome to the Notnerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. All kinds of great stuff to talk about today. Here with me, as always, is Mr. Dave Baylor.
Hello there, Nate.
Yes.
How is it? What?
Come in. Why, it's Todd Workhoven.
Oh, hello.
What
Hi,
are you
Todd.
doing here?
I was wandering by and I heard people talking about technology, and so I just wandered this way.
Wow. Well, welcome. Why don't you just join us for the podcast today?
Hey Siri, remind me to schedule security at the office.
Lock all doors.
Yes.
After.
Thanks for coming.
Yes,
Welcome.
I'm surprised there weren't armed guards.
There's Siri
Siri's
reminding me.
actually going off. You had no armed guards at the doors of your
Yeah.
podcast empire.
They're on vacation.
Todd, you have been on the podcast a couple times before. You are of Mark and Toddcast fame and Portland at the Movies.
That's right.
And we mention you all the time. When we talk about Todd, it's always you.
Yes.
I oft mention Notnerd on our podcast as well.
I thank you for that. The recent discussion on one backup is none backup.
Yes.
And thank you, but it's helping to keep our numbers low by mentioning us. So
Yeah, it's not actually helping.
I did have a follow-up question. I won't go into the story, but it involved trying to get a phone somebody dropped into the water out of it with a big magnet. Would theoretically that have worked? Are phones are they magnetic enough that you could theoretically pick one up with a big magnet?
I have one of those magnets in my car. And if I hold
Magnet
it just...
car mount.
Yeah, car mount.
Not a big magnet.
yeah, just a car mount, a small, very small, weak magnet. But if I put my phone on it just right, it does grab onto a couple
A
metal
little bit.
items inside. Of course, it doesn't stay unless you have like a piece of that metal stuck on the back of it. But I think if you had a powerful enough magnet, there would be enough
and we did.
iron inside of there to do it.
Yes, you had a powerful.
Interesting.
And now it used to be keep all magnets away from computers. A lot of that had to do with moving parts, like spinning hard drives, because if you put a magnet near it, it really screwed up a spinning hard drive. So
Okay.
obviously,
Or the
an
old
iPhone,
CRT monitors too would get all
warped and everything.
out.
So with an iPhone, you'd be better than not retrieving it from the
leaving it in the
Willamette
water,
River,
right.
as some would say.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, well, her phone was gone. We did not find it.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We've got a piece of follow-up. Just last week, I said, if it's still up, go check out Apple Archive, which was a complete archive of every piece of content, basically, that Apple had ever put out. Well, most of the video is gone, and most of the content, due to, I'm guessing, a takedown notice, which you are very familiar with, Todd, with your YouTube channel. We'll get back to that a little bit later, but so he had a Twitter discussion basically saying, hey, it lasted a week and 3 days. I'm sure I am a member of a subreddit called Data Hoarder.
Yeah.
If you could imagine that. I just read it for the article.
Founder
Yes.
and Chief Operating Officer.
Yes.
I just look at the pictures.
But I'm sure whenever there's some large group of media that's made available, there are members there that they have to have a copy of it. And these people with ridiculous hundreds of terabytes of storage, and they try to download all of YouTube. These people are digital archivers and
like the Wayback Machine.
Yes. So there's some of that.
It's my hope that Apple did the takedown notice and that they are talking amongst themselves to see if they can do like an official partnership with this guy.
Oh yeah, hire him in and have him be an archivist and why not have a museum online?
Yeah. Well, and I had a question about, because I don't know a lot about the Internet Wayback Machine, I think is that site where you can look at. Now, does that, I remember in 1997, my wife at the time and we made a digital Christmas card that we send people the URL, which nobody did at that point because it was our grandparents, and they're like, what is internet?
Yes.
But theoretically, is that still exist somewhere? That can't possibly be how these archive things work, taking a slice of the internet every second of every day forever. That doesn't seem even physically possible, data-wise.
Well, yes, it could possibly exist. I think the Wayback Machine kind of takes the approach of, we're going to start with the biggest, most popular websites and keep those, and then as we're able to move down the chains. So,
And keep in mind that they're probably only saving how backups work. You don't back up the entire thing again. If the file hasn't changed, you leave it the same. And so they're only doing backups of the files that have changed or have been added. So maybe that website you're referring to, they copied your pictures once.
Right.
And since they didn't change, every week they're not going in and making a duplicate of that over and over and over again.
That's true.
So there might be
somewhere out there.
Some-
is
Yeah.
that
And
1997
you could
Christmas
type in
card.
the URL in Wayback Machine and see if it pops up.
Oh, I wish I remembered it. But
yeah,
speaking-
that's part of it is probably the fact that they might look at privacy type things like something like that where it's
Yeah.
personally
right.
shared content.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, speaking of digital archive stuff, I have
what?
the reason that I really came is because I came across something. I will give each of you one of them.
Oh boy. Oh, gifts.
Wow.
I brought
What?
you each
Wow.
a big set of floppies
Look
for
at
the
this.
and some of them are like 1980, 81 for
So to describe to our listeners at home, Todd handed us a box of 5 1/4 inch floppy because they are the
actual
bendable
floppy.
Yeah.
floppy.
And they're from, mine is Apple II System Utilities, getting down to basic. These are all Apple II E and C.
And there's some weird titles. They're like the Apple logo or
Yeah,
something
exploring
like that.
the
They're
Apple
exploring
logo.
the Apple logo.
Interesting.
And then on the other, which I'd never seen, a double-sided
Oh,
floppy.
yeah.
It's something different on some of the backs of them.
Yes, you could do
Mouse paint for the Apple IIe. Oh wow.
Anyway,
that.
yeah,
Wait,
I came
wanted
across
mouse
those.
paint. This is great.
We can
So-
bargain. These
Yes, I
can
have
be
not
like
separated
Pokemon
them
cards.
out in any meaningful way.
Yeah,
so.
and some of mine have a nice sleeve with the rainbow
Yeah.
There
Apple
were a couple
logo.
more discs there when
Yeah.
I found them at the bins, of course.
Those
Since
are
it's-
great.
Since it's by weight, this cost
Yeah.
me like 87 cents.
Nice.
And
Thank
I
you so
sprung for
much.
the little holders. Too,
Yeah.
The
You're
flag
like,
holders.
this is
Thank
going
you.
to add 50 cents. Maybe should I?
I know.
No, this is fantastic.
But
This is
I
great.
figured you'd think those were neat enough to
It's going to
do
go
something with.
well. I'm going to reorganize my kind of Apple archive museum I have in my office here,
Nice.
and this will be a part of it. So thank you very much,
Yeah,
Todd.
that is
welcome.
cool.
That's
Which is
awesome.
actually ironic because we just spent time this past week in Dave's place of employment, the server room, going
Mm-hmm.
through some not quite this old, no floppies, but
Close.
compact discs, stacks and stacks of
Yes.
old software. And we did, especially for the Apple stuff, keep like
Yeah.
that stuff
The
to go
stuff that was
through and
cool.
see.
Yeah.
But there was like 100 copies of certain software that just wouldn't even work anymore.
Yeah,
and-
Symantec backup disk CD-ROM for Windows 97 or something like that. It's like, I don't think we need that.
We did find some Windows XP install discs and no AOL discs.
No
That's
AOL
Oh,
discs.
funny.
I need it. Well, thank you so much.
Well, and I had something in case Isla showed up.
Oh,
It is
yes.
a copy of the Berenstain Bears in Mandarin.
Oh, wow.
what? I got to see
Which
this.
is pretty weird. It's the one where their fish dies and they have to flush.
Dave,
the
can you
flush
read that
out.
to us?
It does have English in the back, but it took me a while to figure out it was Mandarin because there's no
Let me see here.
country listed on it in
I was going to see if I recognize
English.
any of the characters. I do not recognize any of the characters.
Well, that is very cool. She did not make it today. There was a
No,
possibility she was going to join us, another special guest.
to
but-
give her
Yeah.
pro tips.
yes, yes. Well, speaking of pro tips, it's time for Dave's pro tip of the week.
And I want to thank you guys for kind of mentioning the pro tip this week. How many of you at home even realize that your phone probably has a flashlight on the back of it? You
Yes.
think this flash goes off when I take a picture. Oh, no, my friend. It does more. It's a flashlight.
Oh,
Well, I thought we'd talk a little bit about it because you guys had mentioned that in more recent updates to the operating system that there is a scale in which you can make your flashlight brighter and dimmer. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Todd
grab
probably
my
should
phone
be the
here.
guy to do it.
Well, I wasn't quite sure how I triggered it. I just
Yeah.
ended up there once, and that's how I discovered it. So
Well, if you turn your flashlight on from your lock screen, you basically can just turn it on and off.
Right.
So what you're going to want to do is on your main screen on your phone when it's unlocked, pull down from the right-hand corner if you have a buttonless phone. And if you still have a phone that has the home button, you swipe up from the bottom. And then there's a flashlight icon. Again, you can tap it to turn your phone on and off or your light on and off. But if you hold it, it goes into a submenu. Your phone might click, it goes into a submenu, and you can drag the brightness of that light up and down. Now, Nate, I was arguing earlier that why would you want it to be anything but 100% bright? What is some of your criteria for that?
well, if you're if you're in a very dark room, you don't maybe need it all the way bright if you're trying not to affect other people, or if you just need a little bit of light. I will actually, what I usually do that works for me is I just go to my phone and I open up Google Calendar because it does not have dark mode yet. And like at nighttime, just to get upstairs, that's light enough. Actually, ironically, just this morning, Isla and I were playing a game on my iPad, and for some reason it had just updated last night and the screen was pretty dark. And so she goes, turn on the flashlight on your phone to make the screen brighter. I'm like, she is a great problem solver. And we tried it. And of course, it just creates a whole huge bunch of glare. But there are times when you just need a varying amount of light, because when it's full brightness, like if you were going to hold it up to somebody's face or if people were going to be looking at it, that's a lot of light. Or maybe even for some battery saving.
Well, you have your spouse who maybe is sleeping and you want to look around the bedroom for something. You lost your
pen.
Shoe.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Your pen and your shoe.
Your shoe while you're in bed.
I can see that you might want to dim it down.
Two great things that you would need while you're in bed.
I am just not sensitive. I'm just like, turn that sucker on. Let's go bright. Let's wake everybody up. No.
Yeah.
The reason I'm not that familiar is I am one of the special snowflakes who owns an Apple Watch.
Yes.
And I love being able to turn on the flashlight feature, which basically just shows a white or a red screen. And I use it all the time. As an extra pro tip, swipe up from the bottom of your Apple Watch and there's a little flashlight indicator, and you can choose white, flashing white, or red, and you can see your surroundings.
That's another good one if you remember that.
Why would you? Oh, maybe flashing if like you're jogging or something. Or
jogging,
like,
or
if you really want to annoy people and you're not sensitive.
I'm thinking if you might be able to set it on top of your car or something as a hazard or something like that. If you had an accident or who knows.
Yeah, but the flashlights on the devices we have with us.
Yeah.
Another one of those great features.
Don't forget about them.
Well, let's move on to our takes of the week. We've got some stories. I went through hundreds of them and found ones that people might actually care about. We talked last week about the Apple encryption case with the Florida terrorist attack. And so it came out this week, a story which I think I'm going to call this a soft not news because there's been a lot of discussion after, but Reuters, yes, that one. Reuters, which is a popular news publication, they released a report that Apple dropped their plan for fully encrypting iCloud backups because the FBI didn't want them to. Now, you need some clarification because some of the headlines have been pretty poor. Your phone is always encrypted now. Newer phones for the last 4 or 5 years, I think, all of them out of the box. Everything's encrypted until you do your Touch ID, Face ID, passcode. Everything's encrypted. Your backups, most of the time, are encrypted if you do it to like your computer. Now, iCloud backups are not encrypted. Your health data is encrypted. Some of it's encrypted, your passwords, that kind of thing. But in general, it is not encrypted. So Apple has actually handed this information over to government agencies when they do a formal request for it. So there's been a lot of discussion. Well, this article, they had 6 sources. Most people are saying that 5 of these sources are from the FBI, and then 1 possibly worked at Apple. So there's a little bit of skepticism on this report because it's basically saying Apple wanted to encrypt, but then the FBI said, nah, we don't like that. And Apple just said, okay, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Rene Ritchie, who is a very popular Apple writer, video guy, podcaster, everything.
Pundit, I think.
Pundit.
Yeah.
He was talking about it, and his understanding is that the reason Apple did not do that is because if you're doing encrypted backups, you lose your phone or you lose your you lose your password, you have no access to that stuff. So it was on that spectrum that you often talk about, Dave, of security and convenience.
Right.
Having everything fully encrypted. Now, the FBI is also excited about this feature because then they're able to get a lot more data.
So, Todd, for the tinfoil hat wearing crowd, if you have an iPhone and you just go into your settings and you choose not to do an iCloud backup, you can still use iCloud to synchronize your photos, your messages, your game saves across your iPad and your computer, and it's secure. But if you click backup and it's backing it up on the servers, that's where it does unencrypted backup for part of your stuff. So if you use iCloud to synchronize information between your devices and you back up to your computer, you should still be encrypted. But the second you say back up my phone's contents to the cloud for recovery later, that is not encrypted.
Okay. Well, that's good because my storage has been full for like 5 years now. So,
So they
it's
just
a
have
big
old stuff.
overflowing trash can full of something that I'm unaware of.
Yes.
That it's always telling me to upgrade, which I won't.
Now, Nate, is that your understanding as well?
Yes.
If you use iCloud to synchronize, you're fine. But if you're backing up, that's when it's unencrypted.
And I was listening to The Verge's podcast, and they were talking about, I guess they did a big article looking at all the different nuances of this. Like you were talking about, like, if you do this piece and this piece, then this piece is encrypted and everything.
It's a little conflated how they have it set up.
And Apple would like to do this. They are privacy focused. Now, whether or not the FBI had any influence on this, they don't want people coming into the Apple store saying, hey, I lost my phone. I don't remember my password. Can you please get me my last 5 years of pictures back?
Yeah. And I think that's a good compromise for people who don't understand the technology, can come in. Apple could say, here's a little bit of your information. And the FBI, if they say, hey, we subpoenaed this information, give us the photos or whatever, they can still do that without compromising the total security of the device. So for those who are security conscious, can just avoid those backup scenarios.
Yes. Yeah. And just do local backups because, as we always say, one backup is none backup.
That is true.
Microsoft, maybe you've heard of them. Their goal is to become carbon negative by 2030. Now, you might be saying, okay, lots of, Apple, I believe, is carbon neutral now. Well, Microsoft's plan by 2030, so in the next 10 years, is to offset all of the carbon that they have ever used.
Oh, wow.
So retroactive, so all the way back to, the 70s, they are going to do enough of these.
We've never had any carbon ever.
Yes.
We're
So
wiping our carbon off the face of the earth. Unfortunately, it doesn't go back in time and remove that from the atmosphere.
Yes. But they're trying to counteract moving forward through carbon credits and all this, giving Al Gore a lot of money, all these different ways where they can kind of do enough good to help offset. And they've got a little chart in the article if you want to go look at that. But yes, so their net carbon emissions by 2030, the plan is to be negative.
Well, if we can't get things under control, that George Strait song from the 80s or 90s, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona, maybe that'll come true.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, George Strait, he was a futurist.
Middle name Nostradamus.
Yes, before his time.
I keep getting distracted by your awesome Madonna head microphones.
Yes.
Which I'm super jealous because you can move around and not have to be on or off the mic.
We're always on mic.
I know. It's so nice. You get one of the big blonde ponytails.
The ponytail hat, like what's the guy in the infomercials?
I have no idea.
Something little.
If listeners were to see Nate and I now, it would look like we're sportscasters.
Yeah, totally.
We've got our little headpiece. And Nate, I think we've talked about these before on the show, but they're not an expensive device.
No, and we should make it a pick of the week. And we've meant to do kind of a podcasting write-up because we found having the microphone, the little stand that you see in every single podcast picture ever. I actually have heard recently a couple other the podcasts I listen to talk about moving to the headsets.
It makes way more sense, especially when you have a computer in front of you. The ones we have are always in front of the computer, no matter where you move it.
Full visibility. So yes,
you can vogue at any point. You can. There you go.
The only thing I can't do is like do a Michael Jackson's twirl
spin
because the cable.
We haven't gone cordless yet,
That's true.
But maybe we will. I have seen people podcast with AirPods. Yeah, I'm always suspect because there's a little bit of delay there, but maybe we should even give those a shot again.
We should.
Speaking of sound and speakers and all of that good stuff, Sonos. Now, Sonos, I don't know how long they've been around. It seems like less than 10 years. And they really came out of the gates with high-end home speakers that magically network together. You could magically do all this stuff. Now you have, Alexas and all the different things that you can do a lot of this stuff, but Sonos was kind of the high-end
In real-time follow-up, they were founded in 2002.
2002.
So what is the math there?
Wow, that would be about
years?
17 to 18 years that they've been around. But they made a splash in the world of tech news this week by putting out some notices to people that had older devices. And they had done something about a month ago. I don't know if we even brought it up on the podcast. They sent out an email to everybody that owned older devices and say, hey, you know what? We'll give you 30% off if you upgrade to newer devices. And then your older devices will go into this magical bricked doorstop mode and won't be usable anymore, which they got a little backlash. And so this week they came out and said,
why would they do that?
Hey, these older devices, they just don't have the processing power. They don't have all the stuff that we need for some of the features we want to add. So we're still offering this 30% off to upgrade, and we're going to stop updating the old ones. Well, the problem is, as I mentioned, they are not cheap. And a lot of people that have purchased these and have, in their home, it's like how they do sound. You can do multi-room. You can do all kinds of great stuff. They sound great. I've used them before. I do not own any Sonos products. And so this release came out, and then there was major backlash because everybody's like, the environment and these old devices and
why
money.
Would you brick old stuff?
I was going to say, are they just like with my old phone, I could still use it. It just couldn't upgrade it, but these just didn't work at all.
That's
anymore?
what they were proposing.
The original was that they would just be
Good idea.
they would push an update that would make them unusable because they're giving you this 30% discount.
I can't wait till they do that to our electric cars that
Yeah.
we're driving
Yes.
around.
Well, I was just thinking, it's the scenario is if you have a car that was built before 1989, someone comes to your house and takes the wheels off. It's like, sorry,
just can't use this
you
one anymore.
were driving it yesterday, but now it's hit the threshold.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so they kind of changed their tune where they were going to stop updating the older devices, and then they got some backlash, and so they're kind of rethinking the whole thing now.
Who ever thought this was a good idea to begin with?
Well, yes, and so I heard some good discussions this week about many of the smart home things. Eventually, they can't keep up anymore, much like an iPhone. Eventually, you just can't put the latest operating system. You can't support it anymore. But like with smart thermostats and these people that are putting smart outlets and switches, building new homes, a lot of new homes. I've talked to some contractor friends. They're putting in all this smart home stuff, and it's like, how long can you what kind of life?
Not compatible with 5G.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I wonder if they need to go to a policy where if you buy a product, it's guaranteed to be updated for like 10 years.
Yes.
After that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And for even I don't give a lot of crap to Apple because I've been a user of theirs for the last 25 years. But part of that is because I can still use my iPod Shuffle.
Yeah.
And I can still use my old phone. I just ran out of memory. It wasn't a thing where all of my stuff has become obsolete. It's just, so that is the holistic cost is really good with that because you can. It's been taking me forever to save up for a Mac, especially since I'm spending all the money on the car. But I know that I'll be able to use it for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
Easily.
Like that. Yeah.
Easily.
It does bring up a good thing. Sonos did not handle it really well. And, somebody was talking about the fact that could you not hire 2 more engineers to just make sure that the old software kept working? And maybe you have to, because they all do talk to each other, maybe you have to create kind of 2 special networks for newer products and older products. You got to take care of your customers. And I know the Pixel phones, Google commits to, I don't know 4 years of updates or something. Some of the Android, because a lot of Android phones never get an operating system update. And so they're starting to get that pressure because Apple does do, it's 5 or 6 years that an iPhone will typically continue to get updates to the latest version of the software.
Right.
And on to Google. We're just covering all the companies today. Google releases 3 new experimental apps to help cut down your phone usage.
And I think I can save everybody time. If you're an Android user, just switch to iPhone because the Google apps kind of suck on iPhone anyway. And so you'll use them less.
Yes. So they've come out with 3 different modes. There's an envelope mode. So these are all part of the Android experimental apps. And they're just, one of them's only available on the Pixel 3a, which I happen to have in my pocket at the moment. But they have a special PDF where you make an envelope and you can put your phone in the envelope. And so it encourages you to use your phone less.
Like a physical envelope or?
Yes, you print out a special PDF provided by the app and fold it into the shape of an envelope, envelope. You then seal your phone inside and use it through the paper, only having access to the dialer and the camera. Between the number of steps required to set up, such as printing out and folding a new envelope and changing your default setting each time, it's a lot of work to do it. So you basically, it creates a paper which will only give you a window to do the phone and the camera, and then it has a camera hole in the back. The second one is a little more intriguing, and I actually installed this one.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically a paper that goes on the back of your phone.
Like a wallpaper, a digital wallpaper.
Digital wallpaper.
Okay.
And what it does is it animates, and it's not showing any right now, but every time you use your phone, it'll pop a little bubble, will kind of drop down in there. So over the course of the day,
It's
you get
like
a bunch of bubbles.
It's like an hourglass of
Yes.
sand dripping down.
So I have a little bubble there, and then the longer you use your phone each time, the bigger those bubbles get.
And they fill up your phone's background.
Yeah, so this is part of their digital well-being, where they're trying to help people be aware, which a lot of people do need to be more aware of how often they are using their devices.
Well, and so I got an upgraded phone. This is an iPhone XS, I think, which I upgraded from my iPhone 6.
That's one I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it has all this new stuff that I'm not used to. And so like, there's a lot of the things about the picture editing and all that stuff that I'm getting used to. But it also has apparently the nanny mode where every week a thing pops up and tells me how long I've been using the phone.
Screen time.
Screen time. So I was interested in what everybody else's daily average would be, and how to find it, because I couldn't figure out once it popped up again where to go find that information.
So if you go into your settings and then down in the second section, there is a screen time there.
Okay.
And there are some different settings where you can schedule downtime, app limits, communication limits, that type of stuff. So you can click on see all activity on the little chart. So if I look over the last week, my daily average was 4 hours, 27 minutes, but that was down 55% from the previous week. But I will say that my most used for 58 minutes is the clock, which I made a bunch of chaffles this morning and used the timer on my phone.
I have a friend, and she posts about chaffles all the time, and I don't know what they are, but I want them all the time.
Okay, quick sidestep. PDX Fast Foodie, come on in the room.
There's a what?
Quick sidestep. Live slide whistle, folks. That's the only reason I did this. So, a chaffle. I have a waffle maker we got for our wedding 100 years ago. It's a pretty small one. I take the simplest recipe, 1 egg, half a cup of mozzarella cheese. You can substitute other cheeses. Cheddar's pretty good for a more savory waffle. You mix those up real good. Put it in there for 3 minutes, 15 seconds on a above medium heat. Take it out. It's just like a waffle. None of the carbs, because I avoid the carbs. Just egg and cheese, and it gets crispy on the outside.
Interesting.
I
you
just
do it in
slather
the waffle iron?
in the waffle iron.
Yeah, and I don't have a waffle iron. I wonder if I could make chan cakes.
Chan cakes.
What if I use my wife's ironing board?
Ironing board? Well, you could with some parchment paper, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There are some options, but I'm sure at the bins you could find a reasonably priced waffle maker.
Maybe you should spring for the $15 and just buy a new one, I'm thinking.
Maybe on Amazon. Maybe we'll buy you one at the end of the show.
Hairs in it.
Yeah, so the chaffle, I highly recommend trying them out,
amazing.
especially if you're trying to cut down on carbs, which you should, in my opinion.
Well, back to the screen time.
Yes.
Today is Sunday, we're recording, so it's a new week. So last week, my average was 7 hours and 56 minutes, which was down 6% from last week.
Oh, yeah. So if you scroll down a little bit, then it'll give you a little interface to go back to an earlier week.
Yeah, they must count, because then it breaks it out into social networking, entertainment, creativity. Those are the only ones.
Yeah.
I have zero creativity, apparently.
My highest used app is Spotify, second Maps. And
Mine
so
is Messages, which they must count as social networking.
Yeah, my Messages is not
Mine
very
is
high.
Podcasts at the top.
So I had 1 hour and 17 minutes. But this doesn't obviously count the desktop, which is usually what I'm on.
Yeah. And they do have, in the latest Catalina, they have added that to the desktop, so you get the complete.
If you're logged in and you have iCloud syncing, and it should get your pickups in time on all of your devices.
Nagging come from all directions.
Yes.
It's like, I'm going to use my iPad.
like
sorry, we're
Having
tracking you
your
here
mom
too.
in the room. How long have you been on that thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Just a minute, Mom, don't come in.
So back to the Google, the Android, the third one is screen stopwatch. So this is another digital wallpaper on your phone where it literally just counts up in big numbers how much you've used your phone each day.
Wow.
I'm thinking maybe Apple could implement something like this with like a little thermometer or something on the side or the top that shows you kind of how full your experience is.
I'm guessing you could probably to your notifications screen, notification center, or your, what's the other one, your widgets. You could probably add screen time in there. I probably have it in there because I don't use it. Oh, I do. There it is at the bottom. So you get a little
meter.
So you could have that at the top if you're trying to be more aware, which you should just be aware of things, no matter, if you have a problem or not. But most of us probably could consider our smartphone usage a problem at times, at least. Another story, speaking of iPhones, now that you've upgraded yours, Todd, there is rumors of a new low-cost iPhone to enter mass production.
Right in time.
In February. So they're saying a lot of people are hoping for the iPhone SE2, which is the old super small one that they released the SE and then doing a new version of that. Well, they are saying it'll be more like the iPhone 8 with Touch ID with some upgraded specs at a lower price. So the hopes of having the super small phone again are probably gone in the near future, but an iPhone 8 at a reasonably priced. So I would probably guess $300 to $400 price range starting out. When
are we going to get an iFold? That seems to be everybody wants to be making that foldable technology.
The foldable phone.
5 years.
Is that your guess?
Well, it'll happen sooner on the Android Microsoft side of things.
Do you think it's just a fad? Or do you think it's going to solve a problem that people will think is enough to purchase something like that?
The best device I've seen so far is Microsoft's, I cannot remember the name of it.
They have the Duo and the Neo or something. They have two confusing names.
But it's what you would expect, kind of like a field-size notebook that you open up and there's a screen on the left and the screen on the right, and they can work together as one large screen with a seam down the middle, or you can push full screen apps on either side and share data between them. They've demoed this technology for, it's got to be the past 10 years they've demoed this, but they're actually going to make it this time. I think that form factor is something that I would actually like because both screens are contained inside and are protected by an outer shell. But if you want to, you can flip it around 180 degrees and have screens on both sides, depending on how you're using the device. And since it's not a foldable display, you can fold it all the way.
Should be a little more durable.
It's more durable. So I think that's kind of the future.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
If they can get that center bezel down to just almost nothing, then it's going to almost be just like a folding display. I think that's the future, unless they find a way to invent foldable glass, which I'm not a material scientist, but it seems like that's not a possibility.
Yeah, so they do have, and there are, this year in 2020, we will see many of them come out on the Android side, and we will see kind of, they'll do some product testing and see I've heard some people sing their praises and say it's the greatest thing ever, but it'd
be nice to have an iPad that folds in half and same screen real estate, but it's easier to fit in my bag.
I just carry two phones in my pocket. It's much easier that way.
You do have two phones in your pocket, right?
Yes, I do. I don't often. I do have my Pixel 3a and my iPhone. And
is one a work phone and the other's a...
In theory, I use it a lot for testing, and I do not like having two phones. That's why I like having my laptop, because I have one device. I don't ever have to worry, which thing is it on? I've got everything right in my one device.
iCloud, my friend.
iCloud.
I'm guilty. Probably the past 2 or 3 weeks, you could have seen me carrying around my newer iPad and 2 older iPads and my Kindle all in the... Why do I need all those tablets?
You got stuck in the elevator and you needed something to read.
Oh, this one's out of battery. Just throw it in the trash. I got a new.
Disposable.
Anyway, I was working on some projects.
But yes, two phones if you can avoid it. And now, I mean, the newer iPhones and a lot of Android phones, you can have 2 SIM cards, or if you use a virtual phone service for your business, like Google Voice is a free one, but there's also many paid ones. You can have those tied in with your phone. So if the issue of 2 phone numbers or multiple, I probably have 4 that come into my phone, that issue has been solved. But iOS and Android. That's why I have two, is to be able to test between the two and for supporting people and such. Our security and privacy story of the week, with the latest releases of operating systems from both Apple and Android and Google, the tough new location privacy controls are working, they say. So one of the first points here, since the launch of iOS 13 last fall, the amount of background location data that marketers collect has dropped by 68%, according to Location Sciences, a firm that helps marketers analyze location data. So this is when, you install a new app, you open it, says, hey, do you want to allow this to have location data? And you're like, this is a chess game. I probably doesn't need to know where I'm at. You hit no, or it'll say, hey, this app has checked your location 10 times in the last week. Do you want to continue letting it do this? So Apple and Google are putting a lot of this stuff in there to help protect, and it looks like a lot less data is being given out.
You would like to think that members of our society would be above board. They would honor people's privacy. They would know if there's any chance to make money off of anything, someone out there is going to monetize that. And I love that these tech companies are making it harder for third parties to track your location, so that these industries are getting kicked in the crotch right where they need to be kicked, because our personal information is not available for them to use at whatever whim they see fit to use it for, or to make money off of it by selling advertising. So I think this is an awesome thing.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
Your
gentlemen.
2 cents.
My 2 cents.
Ooh, what's that sounder going to be like? I can't wait.
Our bonus odd take of the week. I chose this one because, Todd, you are very into movies. Like I mentioned, the Portland at the Movies podcast. You also have a new amazing YouTube channel where you take VHS that you find at the Goodwill bins and rip them into your computer and upload them. And they are very entertaining. The time capsules.
They're very weird.
Yes, they are random, but similar, or in the movie realm. Rotten Tomatoes is a website that's been around quite a while, and you see it everywhere, the tomato meter.
You love tomatoes.
Oh, I hate tomatoes.
But do you like spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce?
I do not like fresh tomatoes.
Me either. It took me forever to figure that out.
Yes.
That it was the fresh tomatoes that I didn't like, but I did like cooked tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Well,
You're the only
just-
other person I've met that has that.
Just to close the loop, I would not touch a tomato my first 20 years of life. And then I tried them. I'm like, oh, these aren't that bad.
Oh,
What happened in those first 20 years where you're so adamant about it?
Super picky eater. I'm like, if it's not candy or meat, I don't want it.
yes. Tomatoes, fresh tomatoes are my least favorite food on earth,
they're not
I've decided.
Interesting.
But anyways, back to Rotten Tomatoes. And actually, Adam Carolla's podcast I listen to, once a week they do the Rotten Tomatoes game, where they pick a theme and they pick 5 movies and they try to guess the
what
critic
the score
scores
is,
are,
yeah.
and whoever has the lowest score at the end. So, but this article goes through and it actually talks to people at Rotten Tomatoes. It looks at how they rate movies and how they, get 80 new pieces of content a day. First, they have to go through and say, is this a review or is this just kind of a write-up? And then they have to decide if this person decides that it's fresh or not fresh. So it's very interesting how this whole thing works. And it seems to be, pretty industry-wide. You'll see it even like on a Comcast if you go to rent a movie, or a lot of places, that it seems to be an algorithm that works instead of people just going, I give it a C. What it does is it takes all of the reviews. There's the critics' review and the people's reviews. And if they rate it fresh or rotten, then it counts towards fresh or rotten for the percentage. So it could be, there are a couple 100% movies. There's also a couple 0 movies. I believe the first Toy Story is 100%er.
Probably Shawshank Redemption. 'Cause
Yes,
that's at the top of the most loved movies.
Yeah,
I think.
and then you'll have some where it's 98% and it's 200 fresh reviews, and then there's 2 guys that are like, I hated it, and so they do it honestly. They don't throw those out. It's honest, so you do get a true review.
I've found that most of the best movies are the ones that have the lowest critical reviews and the highest audience reviews.
Yes.
Those are the good movies.
Yes.
And it's what's wrong with the critics?
So all the Transformers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the inverse of that, if the audiences hate it, but the critics think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Probably not
it's
not for you.
turd. You don't want to go see it. Yeah.
Yes, there can be a quite the spectrum there, and you could almost create another metric just based on those differences.
Yeah.
Which would be nice to look at and have that option. But the other option we like to look at is our picks of the week.
As you both know, I am a health freak. I mean, look at me.
Yes, you were doing push-ups before we started recording.
I mean,
eating a kale smoothie.
My eyelids have muscles on them.
Yes.
They're so strong. So in my vast empire of exercise equipment, I have added something to this. So I've got my Wii Fit.
Yes.
I've got my Apple Watch that has the little circles on it.
Yes.
And now my new thing is a smart scale from Eufy.
Oh, yes.
And it just came in yesterday, but I have had sufficient time to test it out in
Nice.
just one day.
Wow.
This is a smart scale that is under the kind of Anchor brand of life appliances. Eufy, I guess, is owned by Anchor, EUFY. And I've been looking at smart scales for the longest time because the one scale that we have in our bathroom is not smart, but it's digital. But it's like the old Casio watch type screen. So you can't see it in the dark because it's like black on dark gray. It's made of metal and it's near our shower and our toilet and everything. And so it's like rusting. It's disgusting and stuff is peeling up. I'm like, why are we still using this? We've had it for like 15, 20 years. So I thought today was the day when I saw it come on sale on Amazon. So this is a nice white square scale. It's got a glass top with 4 little sensors. And when you put your feet on it, it does some inductive whatever and figures out what your body index mass thing is and how much water water you've been drinking, your bone density. Yeah. It's a little bit like far-fetched. I'm just like, really? Yeah. By touching my feet on this,
count your neurons.
It's just a Star Trek thing where I'm in. Anyway, it has like a built-in MRI on it and all this stuff. Anyway, so what it said was, I'm a little overweight. What? That was a surprise. I could stand to drink.
Is your mirror broken?
I could stand to drink more water, which is absolutely true. So anyway, I'm going to start recording this. There's an app. You do not have to use the app with it, but if you have the app open and you step on the scale, it says, hey, let's talk to each other. And it throws in your weight and all these metrics into your app. And so I'm going to be tracking some stuff. So I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. And I know I went on about this, but gentlemen, what would you pay for a smart scale with all of these features? I think there's 8 metrics that it measures.
It sounds like a brand that is known for that, or is it like an off?
No,
they're a decent smart
I would say
home brand.
Medium.
So not like a no name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think because I have one of these and I'm trying to remember what I paid for it. And it was very helpful during my weight loss journey to have that extra data. Todd, I'll let you guess first on this.
Yeah. I'm going to say $29.99.
And I'll go $24.99.
I was going to say that too, dang it.
Well, I was surprised that they were this inexpensive. I was thinking, because I looked at the ones like at Costco where they find one and it's like $60 or something like that, or generally like over $30. This one you can get anytime you want on Amazon for $29, Todd.
Wow.
Yeah. But my ears perked up when I saw that it was about half off. It was $17.99. And I said, this is too cheap to pass up. And so I got it. It was there in a day and a half. And now it's in my bathroom.
Wow. Yeah, if I'd see it in the store, then I would assume like it would be $70 or $80 for something like that.
Yeah, but for $30 all day long, you can buy one of these.
That's crazy.
So far, I recommend it, and it's even if you get it half off, like I did. If it works for a couple months and doesn't work again, I mean, you're not out that much.
How does it know how much water you're drinking? What is going on?
It's conductive inference of metallic.
I did mention this to a trainer, a personal trainer, and who has some physical therapy background as well, and he was like, oh yeah, it kind of, I mean, it's not a science lab
and there's a big disclaimer, cannot be used for medical analysis or whatever.
Yes, and the one that I purchased was Greater Goods, which is more, I think, of like an Amazon, maybe a little lower on the scale, and that one's currently $29.95. So Good,
Wow.
good
Anyway.
stuff. So yes, maybe we'll have a scale off. Maybe we'll do a Notnerd weight loss competition.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, Todd, since you just happened by, did you
I
happen to
did.
have a pick
Yeah.
of the week?
You know, I did. And so I kind of transitioned somehow into only watching YouTube for things. Like I just
For everything.
I got out of the habit of watching TV a while, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, I'd watch Netflix and stuff like that. And that just became too overwhelming to do anything. So every
try
once in a
to-
while, I'll check it again and
It blasts you with full screen demos with the sound.
things that you
Yeah.
can't turn off. So yeah, the whole experience, and I just couldn't get into anything, and so I just kind of started watching YouTube channels and kind of finding out it's kind of like podcasts where it's like
Yeah.
you don't really know. You think of YouTube as like children's things or like a
Yes.
music video. You don't
Prank videos.
yeah,
how to
unless you
fix your
kind
car
of
or something.
understand like under the hood a little bit more what's on YouTube. It's really great.
Yeah.
And there's two oh there goes my pocket thing, my pocket musical thing. It's strange out of context.
You
I
might
guess.
think it's
I
a
guess
phone or something. No, it's
No.
like a wind-up music
It's
box.
an old tiny music box. But there are two channels that have to do with technology, actually. And they kind of look at older technology kind of from a different angle. One of them is a British guy named Techmoan.
Yes, I'm familiar.
One word. And he'll
Techmoan.
like restore some old... like one of my favorites is this big machine that used to play music in like 1960s supermarket. And it's this giant machine with like one wheel that twists around so that you never have to turn it over.
Yeah.
And so like he'll find stuff like that or like a new gizmo. So I really like him. And there's another young guy with a channel called Technology Connections. And he's some guy in his 20s and
Never
when
heard
I
of
started
him.
watching, he was just kind of a guy with a web camera. Now he's got like this nice set and like a beautiful 4K camera. But he's in the middle of doing this. So he'll review different. He did a big Betamax versus VHS, or like we'll look at this. He did one about toasters that is fascinating because he had this old toaster from like 100 years ago that you would push it down and it would self-lower like slowly, and then when it was done, it would self-raise itself slowly. And so he looked at all that, and it's just like temperature and magnets and like all of the stuff you wouldn't think would be interesting. But he's in the middle of one about a type of media called the CED, which kind of look like the old laser discs. They're the big plastic-shelled movies that were they're actually vinyl. And so they're read like a vinyl record using a little, not a needle, but a little
Laser.
thing of electricity that measures
What?
the pits. It's called CED, capacitance electronic disc, which almost destroyed, I forget who made it, but they'd been working on it for like 20 years and almost put RCA, that's who made it, RCA out of business.
Yeah.
But like a whole 4-part series, and Techmoan has a really good one on those things that's shorter. But
I'd never heard
it's
of that before.
Oh, I found one. I had always figured because my neighbors had one, and I always figured they were just laser discs somehow.
Yeah.
And then I popped one open and looked at it, and it's just a vinyl record inside. But if it gets if you look at it wrong, it won't play at all. So like it was this fascinating nightmare of a technology that didn't work and almost. So yeah, those two channels I really liked is Technology Connections and Techmoan.
Very good.
Very cool. Well, you guys looking at the notes might be a little questioning of my pick of the week this week. I simply put in there Staples.
This could be a big box store. It could be a thing on your desk. That
Yes, I like to
fastens
keep you
paper.
guys guessing and
Yeah.
the suspense. And I am actually going with the big box store.
Oh, okay.
Now, for two reasons, because there's a lot of I have a Staples very close to my house, so it's very convenient. But I go there often for things, and it is they don't usually have what I need. They are good if you need paper or office supply type stuff.
Or Staples.
Or Staples.
Yeah.
They probably have a good selection of that. They do
changed
have a
their
good
logo.
Yeah, well, we won't get into that.
right.
The print center, if you need something printed, I needed like some poster size things printed. It was like $1.80 to do like a full color
Nice.
poster thing. Actually, it was the show art from last week, the Terminator mock-up. I
You're
used
printing
that
that
for
big?
a podcast I went to. But the two reasons, the first one is a minor one, my SodaStream previous pick of the week that I got for Christmas. Staples do the refills, so if you take in your empty canister and exchange it for a new canister, it goes from $30 to $15 for your canister.
Oh, that's good.
And there's many stores
That's
that
a
will do this.
Fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. So they take them back and they can refill them. So most of it is in the metal canister. The CO2 probably costs them nothing. So that's a good little tip. The second part is I found out, I forget where I learned it, they have a great e-recycling program. So if you have...
Tell me more.
Yes, old computers, they have got a whole list of things that they'll take. And so I have plenty of old computers and things around my house. So I actually had a couple old laptops that I'd replaced for people. And I was like, I'm going to take these over. Walked up to the cashier. She pulled out a little form. I signed my name, gave her the 2 laptops. They were done. And so what they do is they collect them at the stores, and then when they have enough that makes sense, they take them back to the distribution center. And if you do leave your hard drive in there or have data, they go through, government level wiping of the drives and all of that stuff. They do have some limits of how many you can do, but they will take copiers, cordless phones, digital cameras.
What about 5 old iMacs that have broken hard drives?
I think you could probably do that. I think the limit is 5 per day. They will not take...
Asking for a friend.
Yes. They won't take alkaline batteries, appliances, floor model printers and copiers,
What
kitchen
about
electronics.
other batteries? Lithium ion, will they take those?
I believe they will.
What?
Yes. So they will take a lot of things. They'll take UPS battery backup devices, tablets, connected home devices, so your old Sonos after you upgrade. Gaming consoles, which take those as staples. Give them all to Dave.
Give them to me. I'll take your gaming stuff.
But most people probably have a staples around them, and we never, even Dave and I talk all the time about where do we take our stuff to e-cycle. But if you have a Staples, you can take it there, and they will take care of it for you. So there is, they're frequently asked questions. Is there a limit on how many items I can recycle? Staple has a limit of 7 items per customer per day. Certain stores may, at the general manager's discretion, accept a larger number of items. They also have some information on business recycling as well. But a good little tip. Recycle your old stuff. I need to do more of that because I have plenty.
Keep it out of the landfills. Nobody wants your
so they
precious
work
metals
with one of the major electronics recyclers, so eventually it ends up with them.
Cool.
Our Ramazon pick of the week. We love it when you guys purchase through our Amazon links and we get a little kickback. This week could be either of you since there's 2 of you in the room. This is the Cool Animal Hipster Pals School Supply Bundle. 6 items, 6 assorted Kittredge subject folders. So these would be school folders. You can check out a picture there with some animals with some what they're calling hipster, like a hat and a scarf or some headphones on them.
Like a graffiti stenciled Banksy look.
Yes. So this is a 6-pack of folders. I'll start with you again, Todd. What would you pay for a 6-pack of these Cool Animal Hipster Pals School Supply Bundle?
Gee, I don't know, $3?
$3. Dave?
$4.99.
You guys are way under. You do not understand the value of hipster.
Wait, did they cost more than my scale?
No, they did not. $12.95 for this 6-pack.
That's $2 a folder?
It's just paper.
They're like the school folders we're used to. Like,
Yeah. Just I don't know if they have any. They don't even give you an internal picture to show you what's inside.
I mean, the graphics are really cool. They're really nice looking.
But they're not.
So maybe this Kittredge is something that people are into, but that does seem pretty high priced.
The Starbucks of folders.
I like how judgmental this segment has come.
So if you were the person,
if you were the moron,
the person that purchased these. Maybe for your children, maybe for yourself. Let us know. We'd love to know more. Yes, let us know the history behind Kittredge and these hipster pals.
It's probably one of those things like you got to wear Nike shoes at school or you get beat up. It's like if you don't have these folders and you're
like
a
the
loser.
Lisa Frank.
Yeah.
Of
I remember those.
2020s.
Yes.
2020s. I had those when I was a kid.
No, that's what I was saying. How Lisa Frank used to. I don't think
see.
Lisa Frank is still a thing.
I see.
And Town and Country Surf Design.
Oh, yes. TNC. Well, Todd, we're about to wrap up. Thank you so much for visiting.
Thank you
for the
me.
floppy disks.
Yes.
These are super cool. That is a piece of Apple history, which we love to look at and just see how the times have changed.
Getting down to basic.
Yeah.
It's so clever.
So how much data do each of those hold? hold like 2.3 meg? Is it even
No,
that much?
it was or 768 megabytes, kilobytes,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the smaller floppies were 1.44
Okay.
megabytes.
Yeah, yeah,
so 1,000 kilobytes
Sheesh.
or 1,400
Yeah.
kilobytes.
And if you notched out, see this notch here? If
Yeah.
you notch out the other side, you can flip it and record data on
Okay,
both
I'd never
sides.
seen a two-sided one. Like
Yeah,
that, too.
so
That's
it
very
was,
exciting.
basically a couple Word documents or super, like one iPhone photo would not fit on
No.
those,
No.
which is
So
just crazy
Just
to
text, bunch of text. That's
Yeah.
about it.
think. Yep, the
Wow.
old floppies. Anything else that you had in your world? Do you want to plug anything that you're working on? Your YouTube channel? People, when you need something, just some good entertainment and some random stuff, please, I will just put it on and
It's
just...
good for like house cleaning because like I don't want to watch anything, but I need something on.
Yeah,
let's watch this.
I'm trying to break my local news addiction by just putting on your YouTube channel.
Right, yeah, so
and you
I-
do upload a lot of stuff on there.
I do. I need to slow down a little bit, but since my other one got canceled, I do need some more subscribe. I think I only have 63 subscribers.
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you about that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is a new channel because the other one got taken down because
Yes.
of DCMA or whatever.
The short version is that don't mess with the sewing and knitting community
Oh,
because they
wow.
will take you down.
Wow.
So that happened, and my old channel did not survive that third strike because I had two earlier ones when YouTube couldn't quite figure out how to tag things and stuff like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that channel and its 400 videos and subscribers.
Were you
just
able to
disappeared.
re-upload some of the older videos?
So I kept some of this stuff around, and Brian, my friend Brian, the Unipiper for
Is
Christmas.
a data hoarder.
Is
and
a data
record-
hoarder. Got me a 4 terabyte external hard drive.
Oh, nice.
So now I don't know for what purpose I'm keeping backups of all these. It's not like I'm
Hey,
not uploading them again. But
One backup is none backup.
that's right. So I find when I go to the bins and I use VHS boxes for other things, I'll just see all these weird instructional videos or they never cease to surprise me as to what they are, and they're never the same. I don't.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying recently on Facebook, the 7 different Disneyland, like how to
Vacation
visit.
planning.
Yeah, vacation planning videos, 7 different ones
And it
from
was
like
super
the 90s.
like one of them you can tell was geared toward grandparents. The other ones, younger couples with no kids, and they're all that part is really fascinating. And Disney never likes to put a date on their copyright. It'll just say copyright Walt Disney.
Oh, yeah, because
And
they
I'm
want it
unclear-
copyrighted forever.
Yeah, and so I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure what that is. But yeah, all of this, I just uploaded some like hour and a half conference about wood design, something or other, which didn't have any wood design in it. It was just
Sounds
a whole
riveting.
conference of a guy like with a PowerPoint. It wasn't even PowerPoint because it's on VHS. So
Yeah.
all of this weird stuff. A Texaco tape about good things that happened in the fall of 1995 to the Texaco company. I found that. That's up there. So if you go to the channel is RIP space VHS, RIP VHS channel. So if you search for that in YouTube and scroll down a little bit until you see the icon with the VHS tape. Because I'm not big enough yet to
Yeah,
overtake
we will
that
get you there.
SEO.
We'll give you the
Yeah.
not nerd bump.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've subscribed to your new channel.
My
so I'm
new
gonna have to
channel,
do
I
that,
know.
yeah.
I
know
believe
I did.
Notnerd is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I keep
They-
waiting for the old one to be resurrected.
It is not. Well, and the worst thing is that there is. So when they shut you down, there's no way to tell all of your subscribers like I've had moo or like there is no. The only thing you can send them is one automated response that just gets kicked back because it sees, oh, we see your channel has been shut off, so we don't talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
And then they went after my other 2 channels that had nothing to do with it because it was under my other Gmail address.
Then they came to your house and they like kicked your
Start burning
dog.
your VHS tapes.
shot me in the kneecaps.
Oh, man. Yeah,
That's
that was
rough
a bummer.
out there.
The thing that freaked me out the most is just like when I realized because I'd started that channel not for that intention, but like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, just with whatever Gmail address I've had, which is my name. And it's like, wow, if they really just wanted to shut down everything associated with my email address, I have no way to fight it.
Yeah.
And all of your stuff is gone. Like, and just, it was so oddly punitive.
Maybe you just need to switch back to yahoo.com for your email.
Yes.
I do not recommend that. by
Let
the
it
way.
be hacked so somebody else has a backup of all your stuff. Well, yeah,
But
and
anyway.
I highly recommend checking out the Mark and Todd cast. It's a fun look at some Portland news as well well as science. You guys usually discuss a different topic. I always enjoy that one, especially when you plug us on there.
Yes.
And Portland at the Movies with you, Mark, and Brian, the Unipiper Kid.
Yes, we had a good interview with a guy named David Walker last month, who used to be kind of in the 80s indie movie scene, sort of, but now is a writer for DC and Marvel. And like one of his graphic novels is being picked up by the guy who directed Black Panther. And it's like, I better get him in before he forgets who I am forever.
Yeah,
so
no,
that was a really neat interview last month.
It's cool to see all the movies and stuff that has happened in Portland over the years.
This one for February stars Andrew Dice Clay and Terry Hatcher. It's called Brain Smasher, a love story.
What?
It's
Seriously?
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes.
I believe it had an actual theatrical release in like Venezuela or something like that.
Nice.
But that's
Well, you had me at Terry Hatcher. So.
Yes.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yes. And would you like to plug your notebooks, of which I am a customer?
Yes. So the reason I collect VHS tapes is I use the old boxes and I use them to make little 5x7 hardcover notebooks. So go to facebook.com/a real piece of work, WERK, and you can see some of those and drop me a line. I've got a big collection. So if you have a favorite movie, let me know and I can get that made.
Yes, I have a Spy versus Spy, a larger comic book one, and a Naked Gun.
I have a Star Wars one over there from, I believe, The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, I think.
Yes, yeah. So they are very cool. A great gift for people, and movies are so great. So it's cool to
a little
look
bit
back
of nostalgia
on that
to
stuff.
carry around with you every day.
Yes. Well, with that, I think we will wrap up this episode. Thank you for visiting again. Thank you for the gifts. Check out all our links in the show notes and get out there and tech better.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Okay, my audio's working. Dave?
I got it.
Hello?
Perfect.
Yeah, you might. I told you.
Note to self, there's no... Use a little gaffer's tape.
If we want.
Well, I don't need to move it now that I've moved it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, so it's like our safety. Like if you do this.
Remix. I'm glad I started recording.
Oh my gosh, that's such a death.
It's already hot in here.
Benauwd is the Dutch term for, it's benauwd in here.